So joining the self to the self, and I'll get into that as we go. As above, so below. Be ye in this world, but not of it. This month we're looking at these lofty phrases and bringing their meanings into our lives, our everyday lives. We're taking the heavenly ideas and the higher truths and the deep and profound spiritual concepts into our earthly, worldly experiences so that we can get all of the dust and the debris and the grit and the grime that come with them and see how they're transmuted into heavenly experiences. So how does that sound? Does that sound like fun? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're going to do that today in the concept of relationships. And I don't know if you noticed the theme that I had going on with unity and I love myself, but that's kind of where we're going. And I know that a lot of times my readings seem that I pick out are a little bit, they're just kind of a challenge sometimes, but there is meaning. I meditate on it for a long time before I decide even where to look for what I want to read. And you'll see as I go through my talk how Barb's reading just fits perfectly with what it's like. Of course, Ernest Holmes had it all right there. Maybe we could just read this and then that would just do it. So we're going to do this today by exploring and deepening one primary relationship, and that's the relationship of yourself with yourself. And that's the lowercase y, yourself, which equals this human incarnation with its physical nature, its personality, and its vast array of emotions, thoughts, decisions, experiences, faith and fear, doubts and certainties, joys and frustrations, trials and triumphs, hurts and celebrations, missteps and successes, all of it, all the whole complete package, with the uppercase, capital Y, yourself, which equals your divine nature, which is the real you. That is who you really are. Your spiritual beingness, that which is made in the image and likeness of the Most High and therefore whole, perfect, and complete. How does that feel to know that you are whole, perfect, and complete, exactly as you are right now? You don't need to do anything. Your God self. And I've been asked before, what is really meant when we say we are God? We understand that we have the qualities of God, we are expressions of God, we are divine in nature, but does that mean that we are really God? And yes, it does, but I know that's a difficult concept to wrap your head around. We were created so that that which is infinite, formless, and intangible may have a tangible and finite form experience, and therefore within this tangible finite formed experience there lives that which is infinite, formless, and intangible. So it's an interesting concept to meditate upon, and this is what I always come up with when I'm trying to make it easier to understand, which is if God is all there is, if we can accept that concept that there is one God and God is all there is, then everything that you see, all form must be created out of what? Out of God. It has to be made out of God's stuff, right? And so if we're made out of God's stuff, then we are a part of God. We are made out of God. We are not all of God, but God is all of us. And I love the Native American axiom that says, God sleeps in the rocks, awakens in the plants, walks around in the animals, but knows itself in humankind. Imagine that. That is the way that God knows itself, through us. We are the hands, the eyes, the ears of God. That we are the way that God knows itself. And I also love the words of Ernest Holmes in Spiritual Awareness. He says, the spiritual genius of Jesus enabled him to see that each is a unique, individualized expression of the one mind. The mind of God at the center of our being ever awaits our acceptance, knocking at the door of our intellect for admission. The consciousness that walked over the troubled waters of human experience, the inner calm that stilled the tempest, is accessible to everyone. So today, this morning, I want us to move into a new relationship with ourselves, to access the mind of God that was in Jesus the Christ, or Christ Jesus, Christ meaning the illumined one, right? And that is by joining ourself, the lowercase s, with the uppercase s, self, which will then impact and affect every other relationship that we have. So, paraphrasing Holmes in The Science of Mind, he said, at the spiritual level, we are each perfect, but our individual use of life and law enables us to cover a perfect idea with an apparently imperfect cloak. Okay, I can agree with that. This morning I want to know if you can truly love and accept yourself, realizing that you are an incarnation of that which is most high, even in your apparently imperfect cloak. So it's kind of a interesting question, but one I want you to think about. It was also said in a more poetic way by the Oriah Mountain Dreamer. Has anyone read any of her? View the Invitation and the dance. Oh. This is in her book, The Invitation, and she writes, I want you to know, I want to know if you can live with failure and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of the moon, yes, I want to know if you can see your own beauty, even when it's not pretty. There's so much more to that, but I won't read the whole thing today. When you can say yes, you will have beautifully and successfully joined the self, little s, to the self, big self. This deep love doesn't always come easily. It grows slowly as we learn to understand ourselves, our dark side and our positive potential. And as we begin to understand that we really truly are God in manifestation. Living with this level of self-love means a number of really powerful things. It means keeping our visions of life as the driving force in our lives. That's the tall order there. It means living with inner integrity, supporting ourselves emotionally in difficult circumstances, accepting our errors with grace rather than shame. And boy, have we been delving into shame and vulnerability with our Daring Greatly book. If you have not seen Brene Brown's talks on YouTube, just go to her website, breneBrown.com. She's been on Oprah lately too, on her Super Soul Sundays. Yes, just amazing. Have you ever watched? We just finished with the Winter Olympics, but have you ever watched the gymnasts when they're doing their Olympic routines during the Summer Olympics? And they take years, don't they, to practice their routines and to perfect them. And then what happens? What happens when they're out there and they're on the floor and they're doing their beautiful routine and they make a mistake? What do? They keep going, right? They just pick themselves up and they keep going, or if they fall off the balance beam or they make a mistake, they just keep on going. And at the end, they raise their arms in triumph because they know they completed it. Even if it wasn't perfect, they know that they stayed with it. And they raise their arms in triumph. Well, I want to contrast that with a parable. And it's a story of a lighthouse keeper who worked on a rocky stretch of a coastline who received a supply of oil once a month to keep that light burning. Not being far from shore, he had a lot of guests come by. And one night, a woman from the village begged for oil to keep her family warm. And another time, a father asked for some to use in his lamp. Another needed some to lubricate a wheel. Since all of the requests seemed like they were legitimate, the lighthouse keeper tried to please everyone, and he granted them all. Toward the end of the month, he noticed that the supply of oil was very low. Soon it was gone, and the beacon light went out. Well, you can imagine what happened, right? That night, several of the ships were wrecked, and lives were lost. When the authorities investigated, the man was very sorry. To his excuses and pleading was their reply, "You were given the oil for one purpose, to keep that light burning." And the old lighthouse keeper walked away shattered at the mistake he had made, never to light the way again for another ship. Did he mess up? Absolutely, he sure did. He failed, and it had some dire consequences. My question is, have any of you ever messed up? Yeah, have we ever made mistakes? Yeah. Has anybody ever had some seemingly dire consequences? I know I have. And who hasn't? But the real question is, are you like the gymnast or the lighthouse keeper? Are you going to keep going, or are you going to walk away? Despite the failure, you can stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the sliver of the moon, yes. Can you see your own beauty even when it's not pretty? God does. In Isaiah, it reads, though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor a covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord who has compassion in you. In Jeremiah it says, I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have continued my faithfulness to you. It's interesting because we always think about, oh, do we have faith in Spirit, in God, but we don't realize that that goes the other way too. You know, what was the story I heard? Someone said, well, I don't believe in Spirit, I don't believe in God. And the answer was, that's okay. God believes in you. God, Spirit, has faith in you. And that's a good place to go too. Here we need to expand our minds a bit. If God, infinite presence, eternal power, loves you unconditionally and everlasting, and if you are that presence in a human, tangible form, then that unconditional and everlasting love must be in you, not just directed to you. It must be in you. It must already be there. Nona L. Brooks, founder of Divine Science, in her book Mysteries, said, God so loves that he gives his all in expression, and that is why we live. God so loves that he gives his all in expression, and that is why we live. And I often go back to what Reverend Sandy Freeman Loomis said. She was my teacher. She said, for God so loved the world, he gave it you. He gave it you. That's pretty powerful. We live to feel, to express from God's divine love. God has promised an everlasting love to us. We are here to feel God directly. And I think that's what our meditation does in the morning when we start, doesn't it? Don't you feel that presence directly? We're here to come alive in God's love for us and in us. First for ourselves. We have to start first for ourselves. We can't love another very well without it. It's impossible to love well without first loving yourself, without first having that relationship with yourself. What do you hear when you're on an airplane, right? What's the first thing they tell you? In the event of a change in cabin pressure, please put your oxygen mask on yourself first before helping anyone else, even if that someone else is your child. Because if you aren't taken care of, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. Apply Emerson's observation as your antidote to self-perceived flaws. Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything that is beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting, a wayside sacrament. Welcome it in every fair face, in every fair sky, in every fair flower, and thank God, for it is a cup of blessing. A cup of blessing. Well, we had several cups of blessing as we drove down the coast. It was beautiful. But that includes your fair face, too. That includes your fair face. Who's done mirror work? Louise Hay's mirror work. That is awesome. You know, look yourself in the eyes and see your fair face and say, I love you. When it starts there, then you have that love within you that you can share with the world, and look upon the other fair faces and say, I love you. Look upon yourself as an ingredient in that cup of blessing, and let love be there within you for yourself. Let me tell you a story that illustrates what we often do instead. It's a story of a man who decided to buy a gift for his wife. And he went to a pet store because he thought that his wife would like a bird that would keep her company and sing and talk to her. Does this sound familiar to you? He thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if when my wife came into the room and the bird would say, good morning, how are you? This man thought, yes, this is the gift that I need to get for my wife. So the man went shopping. He went to a pet shop and he said to the store manager, sir, I would like a bird that sings and talks. Well, the man bought the bird. Have I told you the story before? Okay, good. The next day, the man returned the bird and said, I've had this bird for 24 hours, and it just sits there and looks at me. He doesn't sing, and he doesn't talk. That's strange, said the manager. Does he peck at his little bell? What bell? Said the man, a bit frustrated. Oh, no, said the store manager. Did I forget to sell you a bell? You have to have a bell for your bird, mister. You get up in the morning at the sound of a bell, right? Well, so will the bird. He'll peck on his little bell, and when he hears a sound, he'll start his day too. How much is the bell? Asked the man. $8.95, sir. Give me the bell. The next day, the man was back in the pet shop, only this time he was a little more irritated. The bird still doesn't talk, and he doesn't sing. Does he climb his little ladder? He doesn't have a ladder. He doesn't have a ladder? Oh, well, he must have a ladder. Don't you exercise every morning? Well, birds need to exercise too. In fact, that's what really gets them started. He'll begin his day pecking on his little bell, and then he'll climb up and down his little ladder. His blood will start circulating, and he'll feel like singing and talking. How much is the ladder? Asked the man. $16.50, replied the manager. I'll take the ladder. He pays the money and he leaves the pet shop with a little ray of hope. But he's really upset when he comes back on the third day with the same complaint. Does he look in his mirror each day? Asks the store manager. What do you mean by that? Says the angry man. Well, you look in the mirror each morning, don't you? Doesn't it make you feel good about yourself? Well, the bird will look into the mirror and feel good about himself too. In fact, he'll feel so good about himself that he will want to sing and talk. Okay, says the man. How much is the mirror? $21.95 for the framed mirror. On the fourth day, the angry man returned only to be sold a swing. On the fifth day, he walked into the pet shop with a dead bird in his hand. What happened? Said the store manager. He died. That's what happened, shouted the angry man. The store manager said, I hate to ask you this, but did he ever sing or talk? He never did sing, but he did talk, replied the man in a quiet and solemn voice. When I put the swing in his cage, he looked at me rather strangely. Then he pecked on his bell, slowly climbed the ladder, looked in the mirror, and then he hopped onto a swing and began swinging ever so gently, just before he toppled over and died. He looked at me so sadly, and he said, Why didn't you buy some bird seed? Okay, I know this is a really bad joke, and as Rich said when I told him this joke, but that's kind of your forte, is to tell bad jokes. It perfectly illustrates that so many times we try to fill the void with so many things, and the only thing that will really ever fill the void is the love of God. Equate the love of God with the bird seed, right? And the expression of love, of the love of God for us as ourselves. So when you think about that poor little bird, start with the love first. And that's what we're going to do here this morning, to join the self with the self. Here's a higher thought, a heavenly truth about you according to the great Sufi mystic Rumi. You were born with potential. You were born with goodness and truth. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. You are not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. Learn to use them and fly. Today, let us make a commitment to our higher selves that goes deeper and higher than any human relationship, but will serve and support us in every human relationship that we have here, now, and in the future. Join me now. Close your eyes. Put your hands on your heart and repeat after me. Today I vow to love myself.
Today I vow to love myself.
I vow to keep my vision clear.
I vow to keep my vision clear.
I vow to accept myself.
I vow to accept myself.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Because I know it's all God.
Because I know it's all God.
Because I know I am all God.
Because I know I am all God.
Okay, we're going to do a little exercise right now. Everybody stand up. We're going to sing a song, and it's called I Love Myself So Much by Ricky Byers. And I want you to sing it, learn it, sing it a couple times through, and then I want you to turn to someone and sing it to them, okay? All right, so let's see if we can get this going. Okay, you see it? Okay.
Love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me.
Turn to somebody.
I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me.
Somebody else.
I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me.
Do it again.
I love myself so much that I can love you so much, I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That you can start loving me. I love myself so much. That I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That you can start loving me. I love myself so much.
Last time.
That I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That you can start loving me.
Whoops, okay. All right, so you can sit down. So that is my message here today, and that is that when you love yourself so much, you give permission to others to love themselves as well. And then when that love recognizes the love in others, it is truly a blessing. So start where you are, recognize that you are God in expression, and know that as you recognize that, it expands and you will see God everywhere. And so it is.